Hello and welcome back to our hard surface modeling tutorial in Maya, in which we're making this sailing ship. So last episode we looked at detailing some of the parts of the front, the bow. Is it the bow? I think it's the bow. The stern's the back. The bow or the prow, whatever you want to call it. Seeing as it's quickly approaching Christmas, it's the 23rd today when we're recording this. We're going to do a slightly shorter episode for this week and upload it same day today. Just because you know how it is, it gets busy and we're going to run out of time. But I figured in that case what we would do is we would tackle something that we're going to need to get around to at some point, and it's a little bit more difficult, slightly more time consuming and tedious. And what I was thinking is I'll show you how to do a few, or how I would go about doing it on the ship, and then you can go away and finish the rest yourself, because after you've done it a couple of times it should be pretty straightforward. So what I'm talking about is the portholes, the square cutouts on the side of the ship you can see here in our reference. One of the reasons why we have such a high resolution on this part of the mesh is because we need to cut a bunch of them in, and seeing as it's curved, we need as much topological density as possible, so that we don't get any weird pinching or artifacts, right? Fortunately this ship is only got 2 decks of them basically. There's a few up here at the top of the deck, but you know, you'd like some bigger ships. I've made one that's got 4 rows basically, and it takes forever. So fortunately we don't have to deal with that many. So literally all we're going to do is, I like to start from the middle just because that's sort of like the simplest point. And you can see our lines are kind of lining up with the heights of these portholes. We might just be getting lucky in this one particular area, but you can see it doesn't quite line up, so we're going to have to do a little bit of manipulation. You're going to have to make sure that you have your side reference turned on here to get this as accurate as possible. And we only have to do one side, so we can just get it across afterwards. There's 2 different ways we could do this. So we could go ahead, go into face select mode, and just select these faces here, right? 4x4. Delete those and then move the vertices. Alternatively, what we could do is we could get the multi-cut tool and go in and actually start cutting out the shape. So my thinking is there's another third way we can do this, and that is using the live surface or make object live tool or feature. I don't think we've used that in this tutorial yet, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're definitely going to use it now because this is going to make our lives a lot easier. Basically what that will do for us is we're going to duplicate this top hole. We're going to name this top hull, not heel, top underscore hull underscore guide in all caps, just so that's nice and big and we can tell what that is. We're then going to turn on live surface, okay? And you can see in our outliner that's now lit up as green, just to tell us that that is in fact a live surface, okay? If we come over to vertex selection mode now and we select one of these vertices, you're going to notice regardless of where we have our mouse, it's going to say slide here. So you might have already guessed what this is going to do. Basically, it just means our vertice is, or anything that we select, be it faces, edges, vertices, is going to be constrained to this surface. So what this is going to allow us to do, if I come back into our side view and then delete these faces here that we don't need, is I can quite simply select all of these edges and then just move them into place of this porthole, and it's still conforming to the surface, right? And it's going to deform the topology a little bit. We can clean up afterwards. And also because we have such a high topological density, what a tongue twister, it's not going to create that many issues if we do have some slight deformation like this, but because we're going to clean it up as well, it should be absolutely fine. So we're literally just going to select all of these edges, drag those into place like so it's roughly kind of in the center, and that gets us most of the way there. What we'll have to do next is just select the specific sides, and then just use our scale trick to get those to be on the correct plane, because while this ship may be curved, the portholes actually remain aligned to the ground, right? You can see these go straight rather than curving up, so we're going to have to do a bit of tweaking there. We're going to start in the middle just because those are the easiest to do, right? That's where the hull is pretty much parallel to the ground anyway. So we'll start with those. And I'm literally just, as you can see here, I'm just using techniques that we've already been using throughout most of the modeling process. Just scaling, getting these things to fit roughly the right size. And I wouldn't worry about having... Okay, so now that's pretty lined up to our reference, and I wouldn't worry about having it perfectly exact every time. Just kind of get it roughly to the right place. We're going to go in afterwards and fill all of these in with the fill hole tool to get the right curvature later, but for the time being, this will do us pretty nicely. So that is pretty much how we're going to do every single one. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few more for you. I'll probably take it up till this portion here, and we'll see where we get to. And yeah, like I said in the beginning of the video, feel free to go ahead, almost like homework if you like, even though it is Christmas time, so feel free not to do this. Obviously you're not obligated whatsoever. That'd be weird. But just in case, if you want to, between episodes, go ahead and fill in the rest yourself. But yeah, so let's carry on with the rest of these. So pretty much I'm going to be repeating the same process over and over again. So we'll be coming over, selecting these 4x4 faces, roughly around about where each of these portholes are, just using this and dragging them over, and then making sure that our edges are straight. Okay, sometimes it might mess up a little bit here, but I think in this case we probably won't really have to do anything because they're kind of straight already. So you can really get through this quite quickly once you get into a bit of a rhythm. So fortunately as well, and this is like kind of a stroke of luck really, these are all lining up pretty nicely anyway. So we're not really having to edit these too much. And it just so happens that we've got 4x4 faces for each, which is a very, very convenient and happy accident. You could also plan that out in advance, which is what I would advise you to do. Okay, so let's move these ones over. So you can see I'm already getting through these pretty quickly, right? It can be a little bit tedious, but it's just one of those necessary steps. And honestly, a lot of, I would say a lot of getting good at 3D modeling is just being able to endure the tedium. Right? That's probably not very appealing, right? If you're thinking about getting into 3D modeling and I'm sitting here saying, oh yeah, there's going to be times where it's really tedious and you need to just be able to endure it. I feel like any kind of artistic process has that element of it, right? You could be painting and let's say you have to paint like 1,000,000 water drops. But a lot of people like that process. And it's the same for 3D modeling, right? It's kind of like, I think it's a little therapeutic. Like a lot of people hate doing UVs. And I used to be one of them too. And there are times where I'm like, oh God, I would rather be doing almost anything else with my life. But I think there's a certain like satisfying element of it where, you know, the UVs are so important in getting your textures to look correct. It's like rewarding in a way. And also I just like laying them out. Maybe I'm a psychopath. I don't know. But it's just one of those things you have to get used to. Especially if you're going to work in industry too, VFX or game. I can't talk on game so much just because I don't have the experience in that sector, but at least with VFX, things can get tedious sometimes. I remember one time I was working on Avengers Endgame. That was my first project out of uni when I got into VFX. And they needed me to basically clean up a bunch of LiDAR scans. LiDAR's like, I forget it's an acronym, I forget what it stands for. Laser imaging something or another. It basically just creates like captures a scan of an environment using lasers. And they had it from a bunch of different sets in like the battle sequence at the end. And that sort of ruined landscape. I forget exactly where it was. And I had to clean up a bunch of those, and it was just time consuming and boring, and it wasn't like real modeling really. It was just yeah, tedium. But you get projects like that, but it also makes the good projects so much more rewarding. And like, at least even if you're just doing this as a hobby, right, you're gonna still get these tedious moments when you're modeling things like this, but like it's all part of the process and it just comes together. And I would just say, just stick with it, enjoy it. And look, you know, we've nearly finished that single row of portholes already, and I've just been like waffling for like 10 minutes. So what we might be able to do, actually, I think I'll just do this entire row, shall we? Because there's something we're going to get into here, which is, you can see this, what's it called? Brain work with me here. This band here, this thicker part here of the hole that comes out, this particular porthole actually cuts into it. This one too, and some of these up here. So thinking about it, we probably shouldn't have added these bevels. It's okay, we can clean that up. It's not the end of the world. Stuff like this will happen sometimes. It's my fault for not preemptively realizing, but you know what? Think of it as a learning experience. And it's relatively easy to clean up. So don't worry about it. And I'll show you how we do that in this episode too, just to save you any headache. And you can see they're all kind of, like, not perfectly level, they're a bit more level, right? Like, it's like the curvature on the inside isn't as extreme as it looks like on the outside. The decks still do have some curvature to them, I think. Like you can see here, these are not perfectly level. I'm thinking maybe they I don't think they should be. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I know at least on the HMS Victory that I modelled last time, quite a while ago really at this point, there was some curvature. No, they were mostly straight actually. But that could be, I mean, that ship in real life has been refurbished so many times, you know, it could just not be the original anymore. Okay, so you can see here, this is where it's going to start cutting in, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these edges, flatten them out, pull them down. Okay, so we have that hole, and you can see that it's cutting into this part. So what we're going to do, let's see here. What I might do, in fact, is I'm going to turn off the live surface for the time being. I'm going to go ahead and delete. What's the best thing to do here? To do this as easy as possible. Okay, what we can do is we'll go ahead and delete these faces, then double click these ones. Then we have this kind of lip here. I think what we can do is we're going to select our guide that we created earlier. We're going to go back to this piece. We're just going to remove the other side for the time being, so we can take it back across afterwards, because the portholes are symmetrical. Okay, what we'll then do is activate the live surface again. We're going to select this, go to vertex selection mode, select everything, and then just ever so subtly, scale it. Okay, that did not work too well. Basically what we're trying to do is get it to align to the hull again. I think what we might have to do actually then is just go ahead and then delete all of these extra faces, unfortunately, but that's okay. It happens. Okay, now we know that's aligned again. So, it's not the end of the world. What we can then do is just select... actually, let's get rid of these bottom ones too. That's my fault for not preemptively thinking about it. I think I was getting too attached to making the details. That can happen. It's fine. But it's not the worst thing in the world, you know. This is pretty easy to fix. So we need to actually bring this up a little bit anyway as well. So we'll just go ahead and extrude that slightly. Up to about there. Okay. Then we'll select our guide again. Select that to be live surface. We're going to go ahead and select all these vertices along the top, except for these bottom ones. Then we will do that little scale trick. Just slightly. Then we'll just pull this over. Okay, and then we actually don't need this top edge, so we're going to remove it. Then what I'll do is I'll turn off the live surface and just get this to line up with that. Okay, great. So that's our shape back. We can do the same for this one up here too, and we will have to, unfortunately, but that's okay. Now what we can do, we know in this part we need to cut out our porthole. So what we'll do is I'm just going to select these two, isolate them just so we have it visualized. We will select our band only. Oh, let's get that. Oh, wrong one. Let's temporarily hide that. This is what happens when you have multiple objects sitting on top of each other. It can get a bit fiddly. Okay, there we go. Select only this one. Come over to the one we need to make a change to. Then all we're simply going to do is align this edge. Then we will... Let's have a look where we need to go here. I think it's here, isn't it? This might even be a bit too narrow. I think it is. It can get kind of fiddly sometimes with these blueprints. You can't always tell where things are supposed to be. Okay, let's bring back our guide. Okay, select our edges and then just slide those over. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, now that we've got that, we can then go and just select our face that we need, isolate. Okay, and then you can quite clearly see now where our cuts need to go. Okay, so we're just going to put that vertice there, this one here, just kind of getting them to line up. This one here, and this one straight up like this. Okay, confirm that, and then we're just going to delete these faces. And then we need to do some cuts here just to clean that up. And there you go. That is now our gap. And then we can go ahead and re-extrude this out and yada yada and do what we did afterwards. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut in this last porthole. Again, like with the previous few, we're going to select these faces here. Make sure our edges are nicely aligned with the reference. Oh, first of all, make sure you have your live surface turned on, otherwise you're gonna make a bit of a mess. If you're not sure whether or not you have live surface on, always come up here and double check, and you can see the exact object it's turned on for as well. Okay, like so. Then we need our bottom edge. Okay, scale that up, pull that up. Then our top one. I'm coming into this view, the perspective view, because occasionally when we're looking at it from here, we can actually see the other side of the hole. What we could do is go ahead and delete this side, because we're going to have to duplicate it across anyway. But for the time being, I'm not going to do that. You certainly can if you want to. Just pull that up. If it loses its shape, just remember to scale it again and it should fix it. Okay, we've got these vertices are probably a little too close together, but we can go ahead and fix that afterwards. What I'm going to do now is cut in the shape of our hole into this band as well. So I'm just going to straighten that out. Turn off live surface because we don't need that for this particular part. I am going to probably, it looks like here, because the edges are so close together, we can probably get away with just keeping some of these original ones. I'm just going to slide that over. Make sure this is roughly level. Again, don't worry if it's not exactly perfect. You know, these are handmade out of wood in real life, so there's bound to be some slight differences. Okay. We just go ahead and reverse that. Let's quickly clean up this topology here. So what we'll do is delete that edge, probably bring this up like so, pull this round, and just terminate that like that. And then here we'll have this come under instead. Okay, so we'll go ahead and delete these and these. Okay, have this come like this. Have this come up here, and then have this terminate like so. Okay. And that should end up being a bit cleaner for us. We might need to do some more cleanup later when we come to adding our holding edges and bevels, but that's okay. So we'll just go ahead and hide our guide, and there you go. So that is our first set of portholes. Let's go ahead and just turn off our reference here. Obviously right now we don't have any thickness in the hole, so you know, it's just looking black in there. We'll go in and actually add the decks as well, and the cannons sticking out eventually too, and the doors and everything like that. But for the time being, that is just quickly for this episode how you add portholes, or how I would go about adding portholes. And you can see in not too much time at all, you know, and you won't be talking over this while you're doing it, you can cut out these really, really quickly using the sort of technique that I just showed you. I'll get into showing you how to clean this up afterwards, I think, in the next part. I would say for the time being, just do what I have done. Clean up any triangles and n-gons where you can. If your topology is looking a little bit like this, which it probably will do, I'll show you how to clean that up afterwards in the next part using the live surface tool again. But for the time being, that will be it for this episode. I'm sorry it's a shorter one. Just with it being Christmas, things are a bit hectic. We're kind of running out of time. But I still wanted to make an episode for you guys just to make some progress on this, and just to give you a chance to make some progress on it as well if you'd like to. But yeah, any questions at all, please don't hesitate to send them. We might not be able to answer as many comments over the next couple of days, with it being Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day here in the UK. But still send them through, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as possible afterwards. Like always, hope you enjoyed the video, hope it was helpful. And yeah, I'll see you in the next part, and have a very, very, very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, and I will see you again in, well, sometime next Wednesday probably, and in the new year. So yeah, thanks for watching.